Record.
So the demo scenario today will be kind of a needs-based scenario around external users needing to register a corporate entity to engage with our business. So a user is going to come in, they're going to be brand new, they're going to register as an external user, they're going to fill out a corporate profile form. We're going to show an integration with the ECM, of course, content server. This version is 20.2. We're going to start a workflow, create a business workspace, report status back to the portal, and then the user will be able to view status as well. So in terms of flow between the two systems, PowerApp's portal is cloud hosted. You don't need to deploy it on premise, and the data does not need to be stored in it either. It can be transitioned or transported down to your local on-premise system if you desire. The user is going to come in, they're going to create a user account. So they're going to register as a user in our portal. They're going to fill out a corporate information form, simple little form. We're going to take the data from that form and push it into content server. So all that data is going to flow over. It's going to go through and start a workflow, create a workspace, give someone an assignment to review it, and report the status back to the portal. As the status goes back to the portal, the user will be able to see it, do what they like with it, check in frequently, and then actually kind of have more of a self-service model without needing to pick up the phone or constantly email back to your organization. So let's go take a look at it. If you got questions, just hit the hand raise button and we'll get them answered. So I'll just do a refresh here. This is the portal that we've themed based off of our website. So this is all running on powerappsportal.com. We essentially took part of our website, put it onto the portal, and you can see things that are deployed automatically. We can have menus, of course, like any website. We can have an about page, and we can have sign in as well and search. So for sign in, I can choose to sign in as an existing user, or we can register as a new user. So we're going to go through and register as a new user. It's going to do some checks here to make sure that we don't already have this user registered with their email account, that the username is not taken. And if you do run a register with an existing external account, like I mentioned, we've enabled Google authentication here, and I'll show that in a second. So we can click register. It's going to take us to the profile page for this user. And we can ask for more information. We can ask for first name, last name, anything we like here. Put in our information. We're going to put in the corporation name here. An optional title, public profiles, and even how we want to contact them. So, you know, I don't want to be contacted by phone or fax or mail, just email only. So once we have them registered, they can go in and access the corporate registration form. The second part of the demo is they need to register their entity. So in a municipality, I see this as more, I need a business license. I need some kind of permit, maybe a development permit. In the corporate world, maybe it's a broker, an agent, or a partner logging in and interacting with your business through a portal fashion without needing to go and build your own thing. So we can put this in. Corp, Sally at Gmail is going to give an email. We can do masking on the fields as well. So the phone number, you don't have to, you know, put the parentheses and the dashes in each time. We can put our address in. All this can be dynamically looked up as well against other address banks. We'll go with Vegas right now. And then we can do dynamic field changes based on country. So you'll see the state and the zip code fields here swap out based on country. No idea what the zip code in Vegas is. And we can turn on capture as well. So the capture field where it validates that it's actually, a human and not somebody spamming your site. And we can submit this form. Now we can add an attachments area here if we'd like. Didn't do that right. And this registration will be sent off to the ECM system. In our case, it's content server 20.2. And Sally's request is now started. So this will now give a workflow assignment to someone internally in content server, and they'll be able to go through and actually create the workspace and go through and actually perform their tasks in an internal system versus an external system. So if we go back to the home screen, I can choose to sign in or out of Sally. And while we're letting the two systems talk to each other, we can sign in through Google as well. So if we actually want to authenticate through Google, we can choose one of our Cadence generic accounts. We can authenticate directly into the portal through the Google OAuth authentication. This works for Facebook and other authentication providers as well, but it's very flexible in terms of how much work you need to do on the authentication side and how hardened the application actually is because it's published by Microsoft and already encrypted. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to go over to content server. Just do a refresh here. See that we do have a workflow assignment. All this information is coming across from Sally's profile. So Sally Smithson, user 5 was her email address at Gmail. And any information that came from the form can be transported into the workflow attributes on the content server side. And we can go ahead and add attachments if we like. So let's go grab an attachment. Send this forward. And again, most of you are content server users. You can do a lot of things in workflow. It's not the intent of the presentation today, but we could do different things with that. As that workflow is submitted, the process we're following is to actually go through and put something into a corporations folder called a business workspace. So we have Sally Corp here. All the information that came across in terms of who this corporation is for. The documents will reside here. If you do want to add that document in here as well. We've now created a workspace for Sally's corporation, and we can interact internally for processes to go through and actually complete the validation of the registration process. So this will send the status back to the actual outside entity in Microsoft Power Apps portal and be able to go through, and Sally will be able to log in and view the status of her registration. One other thing that we were looking at recently was the ability to show metadata as well in the documents in this view. So I thought that was kind of beneficial, and that'll be in one of our upcoming webinars in September. So I'll pause for any questions there. Any technology questions or process related questions? Okay. So a few other things about the Power Apps piece. The real benefit we see is the ROI, and this is a study done by Microsoft and one of the third parties that the real benefit to an organization is the reduction in application development costs. So 74% reduction in app dev costs with an ROI of 188% over 3 years. So the ability to deploy this rapidly without needing to have, in-depth coding or, reinventing that wheel of authentication, search, form builders, all those kind of basics that can be manipulated or modified for every different process is a real benefit to organizations. If you do have that, behemoth of an ECM behind the scenes, it can integrate. So that's all really out of the box connectivity points that we're able to configure between the two powerhouse applications, Microsoft Power Apps Portal and OpenText Content Server or another ECM system. Now, the question we always get on this one is, what does this thing cost me? And we don't sell this, but we're going to talk the pricing side of it anyway, in terms of how Power Apps Portal is licensed. So this is taken right from the Microsoft site. And there's two licensing models. One is for the external users. They can be authenticated or they can be anonymous. So the authenticated users, the users that you actually want them to have a login and you want them to have the ability to create a profile and check status throughout their profile versus more so, let's say, postal service tracking where you're giving a tracking number, they need an authenticated login. So let's say you have quite a large user base and you have 5,000 logins that will be occurring. That's a cost of $3,500 per month. This is US dollars for the Canadian folks on the phone. So logins are valid for 24 hours. So essentially think of it as a day pass. And if this is something that you have a large external user base and they're not frequently logging in, say they have to go in, I don't know, once a year. We work with some organizations that have to validate, physicians. They would go in once a year and perform an activity. They would use, one login once instead of constantly logging in throughout the day or the week. If you have external anonymous users, which one of our clients is using it in this fashion, you get 100,000 page views for $100. So I pretty much in software call that borderline free based on the features you're getting for $100, and 100,000 page views is a ton of page views for a lot of organizations. If you're going internal and you want to build some internal interactivity with the portal, it's all based on your Office 365, now rebranded Microsoft 365 license. That can give users custom portal use rights, and they're kind of aligned with their Microsoft 365 account. And there's those E levels, E1, E3, and E5 on the enterprise side of things. So any questions on the Power App side of things? Okay, we might have a short one today. So upcoming, we're going to skip August for a webinar. We're going to take a bit of time off as a team here. And in September, we'll be back. We're going to go through what's new in Content Server 20.3, which was recently released this week. We're going to go through Core Share, which is now in the workflow as well. OpenText e-signature product called Core Signature, and we'll do an HR onboarding demonstration. So workspaces with HR onboarding, it's a scenario we get very often from the prospecting side of things, maybe a little more often before COVID hit. And then of course, the Q&A side of things. So I'll open the floor up for generic questions. We always want to make sure this is a little more interactive than Jordan just going through a demonstration. So if there's questions related to what you've seen today or anything coming on the OpenText side, just raise your hand or unmute and let us know. Nobody today. We're right in that summer void, I guess. Okay, if there's no other questions, then Michelle, we'll do what we did last time. Rishma, you can pick a number between 1 and the number of attendees. And Michelle, you can see who gets the swag bag today. And if you have all of our swag already, we'll send something different because that may have happened last month where
4?
9.
We have 9? Okay, I'll pick 4.
Lisa Spinks.
Excellent.
Jordan, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for the Power Apps, so do you need licensing for Power Apps to work with Content Server?
No.
No.
That is all behind the scenes connectivity that we've done. So no need for licensing for that. You just need say an authoring license or the portal license in general to create the portal.
Yeah.
And then the actual communication between them is all done with just general API connectivity.
Oh, cool. And then, so then that licensing slide that you showed, that's just for external use based on what you would have from your public, not internal, right?
That's correct. So if you have a public audience or public facing external users, you have the decision point between, do I want them to authenticate or do I not want them to authenticate into the portal? So you can run it without a portal field, just they log into a page, they can type in a status number and report back, or tracking number and report back on status that way. Or if you want it more, we'll say fully featured, you would have them register, authenticate, and do that. So I know on the insurance side of things, they use brokers and agents, and they have more of an official relationship with the organization, where maybe in the municipal space, it would be less official. A new business pops up, they need a license, as in a business license. They may log in or just go with the anonymous style of form submission. And that's what we deployed with one of our municipal clients.
And for everybody on the phone, these are not planned questions. This is me actually because I want to know. Also, I know, right? Because I usually let other people ask questions first, and then if they don't ask what I'm interested in knowing. So you're creating, with the scenario you did, you created a new site. Can that Power Apps link to a customer's existing site?
Yes. So this could be a link from, let's say on the Cadence site, we had log into our portal here.
Yeah.
It could link here. You could also run your essentially entire website on this, which I think is probably a little ambitious.
Right.
Based on this. This has been released for about a year with Microsoft, by the way. So it's fairly new in their product stack. And I call it a casserole of a product. It's something that they've put together a bunch of previous products into a brand called Power Apps. A lot of this was Dynamics before, Dynamics Portal, and a few other form builders and acquisitions that they've put together over time and rolled it into a new release, a new feature set that works a lot better together.
Okay, so a client wouldn't need to redesign their whole website to make it work. They would just need to link to that portion where we want the portal, or where they'd want the portal.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that's the more typical scenario. This is your heavy lifting forms, public interaction, outside to inside interaction, which is the gap that we always run into in ECM projects. Is the licensing model, definitely from the open text side, does not help outside of your organization automate that outside to inside interaction, which leads to paper or some kind of scanning process coming in if it's paper, and then that becomes internally expensive, where this is more offloaded to the outside for them to have more of a self-service model, which saves internal dollars, internal time, but can still use internal technology.
Cool. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I guess we got a short one this month at about just under 30 minutes. I will circulate the recording like last time. We do have a webinar coming up in September on the new releases in 20.3. And if there's anything else you want to see in these webinars, feel free to challenge us with a scenario. So if there's something specific, or except Norm, because I know Norm's on the line and he'll give us something really difficult. We'd be more than happy to configure that. So
think it's semi-difficult.
I don't believe you know. So